Hello, hello. I'm in another wooded cabin. It's actually not mine. This is someone else's, and I feel very lucky to be here. I'm in the mountains of North Carolina and trying to have a real vacation amidst some very intense life experiences, things that no one could have predicted but happened to coincide with the time I was trying to take off. So it's a good space for processing. If you have anywhere in your life that feels apart from the rest of it, it's not always just relaxation and fun to go into those places. For me, at least, it's like everything that I don't have space to feel when I'm in the thick of my own routines and all the demands of my life, all the responsibilities I've assigned myself. I can't feel it all at once. So this has been a lot of feeling, which is really good, and a lot of trying to relax, and a lot of going with the flow. So part of that has been working because I'm never not working, but this is the fun kind. This is the comics kind. So I've been zero drafting. You know about this. Zero Draft July just took place. It was so wonderful for me. I'm very socially motivated in my work. It really helped to have other people in the Zoom space who I felt somewhat accountable to continue working for a full 2-hour period. My goodness, that feels endless in my, itchy, scattered brain, my restless brain. But also 2 hours is a totally manageable period of time to commit to these thoughts. And then once I did it on a weekly basis for that 5-week period, because July had 5 Sundays in it and Sunday was our meeting day, once I did it for that period, I was kind of in the rhythm. And this past Sunday, I wanted to do it again with folks, but I, in the flow of this cabin situation, got swept up in a social moment and missed that chance. And then yesterday I just decided I'm gonna keep zero drafting on my own because it feels right. And so where I'm at is now, it's not that impressive a stack, if I hold it up to you, it's like, I think it's 7 or 8 pages, but on each page, the way that I do it is like a bunch of spreads that I've written out how they're gonna go. And I think I showed this to you in the last session and have been talking about Zero Draft July a lot. But where I've gotten with this part now is I'm writing in chapter 2 some pretty new things. And as I go, I'm having this delightful experience that is really exciting. And this is like, I feel like this is the fruits of my labor when it comes to orienting my creative processes to myself, to what I need, to my values, to the things my body is telling me. That now when I create, I'm not doing so with this burden of tension between all of those things competing. My body doesn't have to compete with my creativity. My emotions don't have to be shoved aside to get something done. Instead, all of these things feel very much in alignment, and then I can kind of like turn the dial a little bit to say, okay, we're gonna go more into writing mode now. And it doesn't feel like a betrayal or a fight. It's just like, we're directing all of our energies over here now. We're directing them all back there. Yeah, it's beautiful. And I'm really happy to have the opportunity to teach you all this stuff because it benefits me so greatly. And while I'm drawing, this is where I was going with this. While I'm drawing, I mostly have experiences of just like, oh, that would be cool. I just came up with a cool like layout that I didn't think of before. And now, wow, that's going to be really exciting to draw. And I don't know if I've ever had that experience in the 2 books that I've published and the several short stories that are out there. I don't know if I've ever had the experience of thinking in the process of making something, I can't wait to draw that. I don't think that's ever been available because the drawing was always the utility of like just telling the story and telling it in metaphor and making it very clear. But now with this new project, I want it to be gorgeous. I want it to be lush. I want to enjoy the sensory experience of creating the art. So I've decided to enhance it, and this is what today's video is about. As I make these choices, as I'm laying things out and I'm taking the script or the notes that I have and turning them into page layouts, I'm also starting to think, how is this thing going to be delivered? How am I going to print it, or is it going to be online only? How do I want that to shape the art that I'm making? Like what will I draw if I'm preparing to print it versus then if I'm thinking about color or if I'm thinking about possibilities of creating images online, they're so much easier. There's not like cost considerations for that. So I'm having to think about it. I've recently fallen in love with the idea of using thick newspaper stuff, newspaper paper, because I love how it's like really textured. It's kind of warm in its feeling, and it can be heavy, and I love that. So I'm like, okay, sensory experience of print. Love that. On top of that, I have a background in letterpress printing, and it occurred to me that there's an antique press just around the corner from my house. I might be able to get some plates to do like actual digital rendering with etching into those plates, and then print using a letterpress onto this thick newsprint. And then, because I'm insane, I'm thinking about adding spot colors with screen printing, because that's a really matte and vibrant version of color that also will have a slightly tactile experience. Textile. Anyway, so I'm thinking about this outrageous plan that I have, and this book is going to be like 300 plus pages. So I've been grappling with, okay, how could I possibly do that much work for every page of a 300-page thing and then distribute it in a cost-effective way? That makes no sense. But I had a really good idea. Looking at my zero draft, looking at these images that come every few pages, there's an image that I'm so excited to make. I realized that what I want to do is have a full zero draft, maybe even of just like the first section of the book, because the first section is 100 pages at least. And then my next step, instead of going through it and drawing it page by page in order, my next step is going to be to highlight all of those beautiful images, all of those moments that I can't wait to draw, and to draw those first. Because they're scattered throughout the book, which means that they come from different sections. And at the moment, I'm kind of feeling the hesitation to begin this project because I feel like I need to figure out what the aesthetic is in each of those sections. How like a forest scene will be drawn might be different from how a city scene will be drawn. And an action scene is going to be different from like a very slow kind of tender, like a sensory experience scene. So I want to figure those things out. I don't want it to feel like the beginning of the book I draw it one way and then I like develop the drawing style through to the end and then it's all totally different, because then I'll feel like I have to redraw the beginning and that's exhausting. So this way, where I can go through the whole project or maybe the whole first section and just pull out the images that are going to be really beautiful renderings of all of those different scenarios and scenes, but just like a single image, means that I can fully invest in that image being exactly how I want it to look and being the most beautiful version of itself. And then I can use that as kind of the template or the pinnacle of the style for that section or that circumstance or that, setting in the book, and kind of simplify it for the scenes that are less important. So I realized that this is going to be a really efficient way for me to develop all those different styles, but also a really fun way. And that's my goal with my work right now, is making it desirable. I want to desire working on this thing. And I do right now in the writing stage. The drawing stage I've had fear around, and I'm trying to transform that into desire. And the beautiful thing is that if I do produce, like, let's say 12 of these images where I'm like in love with how they're rendered, I've made them exactly how I want this beautiful moment, this beautiful scene. Each of those things I could do my test printing with. I could try the thick newsprint letterpress screen printing option and actually see it in these pivotal moments throughout the first section of the book, see how it's different in different in different scenes, in different circumstances of the book, and test it out to see how that goes. And if it's really good, those might be something that I actually can offer to people. I can sell them, or I can do a gallery show. Honestly, I want comics in galleries, because I think looking at them presented in these beautiful, curated and isolated and aesthetically organized spaces could just change how people see them. So I've got my gears turning, obviously. And it's so fun to be in a work mode, but that's very much about my own expression versus the work mode of like maintaining my teaching and business, which is a thing I love, but is different than this like pouring out of all of my artistic self. So that's my beautiful update. It's 10 whole minutes. If you've stuck around, you're a champ, and I'm just really happy to be here and share the rest with you.